And yes, we experienced some flooding in the river around Algona, but nothing dramatic, no major damage in that. But if we can slow down the rate of runoff into the river, that will, in theory, reduce the peak flood elevation downstream from us, but also more in the treatment of the water. It's not just we're treating our drinking water or treating our wastewater. We're also treating the storm water that runs off of and basically washes clean all of our streets and our parking lots. We can treat it before we send it into the river. So this is just one small step towards that.
Wiseman says the city of Algona will have a ribbon cutting for the parking lot this spring or early summer. A local chapter of the NAACP returned to Fort Dodge last month, and President Sherry Washington talked about the future of the organization yesterday on the Divine Intervention Show.
Right now, we're building our foundation. So we're cementing our group and we're doing our membership drive. So with the membership drive, of course, we're looking or trying to involve as many African Americans as we can, because without that, you don't need an NAACP chapter. That's our first goal and our target to do that, as well as engage our Caucasian people of every color in race. We want to involve everyone.
Washington talked about the importance of breaking barriers and the topic of bridging the gap between the African American community in Fort Dodge and law enforcement. Fort Dodge Police Chief Roger Porter talked about the importance the department puts on community involvement.
Now it's evolved so much more into community policing, community, how to engage the community and gain their trust. We can't do our jobs without involving the community, and that doesn't matter. It doesn't matter whether you're black or white or whatever color you are. Like Sherry said, Sherry and I graduated high school together. We went to school together, and those are the bridges that we're trying to knock down.
The membership drive is ongoing, and prices are $30 for adults and $15 for youth. For more information, contact Fort Dodge NAACP at naacpfortdodge@yahoo.com or find them on Facebook at NAACP Fort Dodge. I'm Alex Benzagal with the KVFD Afternoon News. Have a great day.
Here's the AM 1400 KVFD weatherology forecast. Sunshine mixed with clouds at times this afternoon, with daytime highs approaching 12. Northwesterly winds 10 to 15 miles per hour. Lows dip down to about 1 above. Tonight, cloudy skies expected. Cloudy skies. Tomorrow, snow likely. High of 18. About an inch of snow tomorrow through Friday. From the Weatherology Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Jennifer Wojcicki. Currently, it's 12.
Tough as nails, nerves of steel. If you've come to test our metal, you better tighten up your chin strap. Get amped up for all the great iron action on the Panther Sports Network.
University of Northern Iowa Sports are brought to you on the Voice of Fort Dodge, AM 1400 KVFD, by Mitch Lund State Farm, Party Productions, The Other Store, and New Age Media. Catch UNI Sports right here on the Voice of Fort Dodge, AM 1400 KVFD.
We are here with Jody Winya, BASF Soybean Trait Product Manager for the U.S. Jody, thank you for meeting with us today. When it comes to managing weed control, how can the Liberty Link system help growers?
They're really looking for two things on their farms. They're looking for profitability and, as I said, return on investment, but they're also really concerned about weed control. When it's used as part of a system, Liberty Link provides 98% weed control for those key driver weeds that growers are struggling with. Farmers are really strapped right now to make $1 on their farms. Liberty Link provides growers an additional $33 of profit potential over competitive technologies. But 2-bushel yield advantage is bringing about $18 to the grower. And then you see lower seed costs and lower input costs that are averaging about $15 nationally. So it really gets that grower to look at the profitability of the system, and they're still getting that extremely strong weed control that the Liberty Link system and Liberty herbicide brings to their farms.
Always read and follow label directions.
This is Chris Heslop with Star Energy FS. If your business doesn't stop for cold weather, neither should your equipment. The professionals at Star Energy FS know that performance counts. SureFlow keeps your fuel flowing by preventing ice and wax molecules from plugging filters and fuel lines. Minimize your downtime and protect your engines all winter long. FS SureFlow delivers strong cold temperature performance, improved fuel efficiency, and optimum lubricity. Contact your FS specialist today about SureFlow, diesel fuel cold flow improver.
Michael Devine at AM 1400.
In the name of justice and the American way of life.
With 60 rounds of freedom.
That's right, with 60 rounds of freedom, I'm Michael Devine. I want to thank you very much for listening. I'm just looking for a path to redemption. Yes, I'm just looking for a path to redemption like Michael Cohen. I mean, thank you again for listening and not paying any attention to the live drivel that's on television with Michael Cohen, who actually said that. He started out his opening statement, I'm just looking for a path to redemption. In other words, he got caught. Now he's begging and trying to rat out Trump. I would like to make a note here, Dr. Trump, Dr. Maybe.
Dr. Trump.
Dr. Trump. Dr. Trumpenstein. On your mind till 9. No, I would just like to make an observation. And again, I know it hurts liberals' feelings all over the place, but Cohen has spent a lot of time talking about what a bad person Donald Trump is. He's just mean and bad. He hasn't said anything about collusion with Russia or anything like that. Here's a big shock. Trump had got it on with Stormy Daniels. Shocking. I mean, after what Bill Clinton did, are we really shocked that Trump got it on with a hooker? I'm sorry.
Alleged.
Alleged. No, I think it. I don't have any problem saying that he did. But the idea when we would hold presidential candidates or presidents to some sort of higher standard when it comes to personal sexual behavior is out the door. I mean, Trump could have literally brought a buffalo into his bedroom, and it wouldn't have. And it would have said much. Really, would it really have affected his chances? Even he said I could stand on Central Avenue or Fifth Avenue or New York or wherever and shoot a pistol down the street and I'd still get elected. And he would.
Yeah.
Everybody kept thinking Hillary Clinton and went screaming into the night. I'm sorry. Were you here for a reason?
Yeah, I had to check with my staff and my legal people before I showed up today to prepare my testimony. So I'm ready for you.
You have testimony to prepare for, and your testimony regarding what? Your guilt?
I'm surprised you said anything about my staff. My staff, that would be a laughing matter too.
Oh, really?
No, a lot of things.
Your staff is a laughing matter. I can't comment on that, but if you're telling me your staff, politically,
my political staff.
Are you talking about the
multi-million people that helped me with my campaign?
The city staff over there? Is that what you're referring to?
No, my political staff.
You have a political staff?
Oh, absolutely. There was.
Do I know anybody on it?
No, probably not.
No,
most of them won't fess up to it anymore.
Oh well.
Yeah.
So what have you done wrong other than make a fool out of a couple of your fellow city council people who forced the city staff to waste a lot of time on some blockhead proposal to move fireworks tents around when nobody was concerned about the tents at all?
Yeah. Well, I had some concerns, and we talked about this in the past, but we looking at this, I think it was kind of a knee-jerk reaction to one.
You think so?
One isolated event.
You think it was an overreaction?
Yeah,
you think a couple of councilmen were looking to get their name in the paper again?
I don't know about that, but I just think.
I do. You can take my word for it.
But again, it went before P&Z, and they basically, didn't have too much of a problem. They wanted a 200-foot setback from residential, and that's the way it came to the council.
Well, maybe it's time to look who you have on the P&Z board.
No, but the problem I ran into, and I had some questions about it, which I really didn't have any answers for, is that if we move it back 200 foot from a residential, that's kind of twofold. Kind of contradictory, my two opinions here, but I don't have a problem with moving it back from the 20 feet that's a fire code away from a residential area. But the problem is, if we move it back 200 foot, are we restricting some of the other locations inadvertently? Are we maybe even endangering the ability to set up a tent anywhere in the district, so we're going to allow it?
Gee, maybe that was thought of. Maybe that was the whole point of this exercise.
I was told that's not the case, but I basically wanted to make sure that we weren't.
I was told once the moon was a piece of green cheese. I didn't believe it.
Green?
Green.
Why would you eat it?
No, I didn't.
But anyway,
I didn't believe it either.
Yeah, but again,
so don't believe everything you're told.
Yeah, and again, allowing a commercial building to be 20 feet away from a tent didn't make much sense to me either. If you have a fire hazard, if a thing's going to go up, 20 feet obviously is not a good interval between a building and explosives, not rocket fuel like you heard yesterday, but explosives. 200 foot, I think, would probably take care of most of the bottle rockets and whatever that they're selling in those tents. I've never been in one of those tents, so I wouldn't know. But again, I thought if you're going to do it, you need to address the setback away from all permanent structures, any structure on any property. And by doing that, again, you're restricting where you can set these things up and trying to identify those properties where you could set up tents. It hasn't been done yet. Nobody has been able to show me specifically the old Randall store. I think there's what is it now over there? Family Videos
Yeah.
over there in that building where Active Health used to be. That tent right there probably would not be allowed because of the 200-foot setback from residential. But they told me that they didn't really know because nobody had ever looked at it.
The whole idea was probably to get the tents out north and east of Decker Trucking, wasn't it?
They wanted them out in the country.
Yeah.
They wanted them out in the industrial areas.
But they never said that, did they?
But again, they
They
had
never made that admission.
well, the initial one
They were
went-
lying to start with.
Well, the initial proposal was to move them to light industrial and heavy industrial, which would have moved them out.
Where'd that proposal come from?
I don't know.
Oh, yes, you do.
Came from somewhere.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
you know exactly where it came from.
But anyway,
Don't
it came up
start
during a
pulling
work-
an all-star with me here. Come on, cough it up.
But again, that property
Not
was
gonna do it,
identified.
is it?
Nope, not going to. 576 properties were identified in light industrial and heavy industrial. Of those, 73 of them are residential, which means you wouldn't be able to place a fireworks stand on them. 21 of them were duplicate residential lots, so there's another 21. 152 were duplicate commercial listings, and 31 of them were city-owned, which basically takes that 576 down to about 250. So of that 250, then we have railroad property, we have Mid-American Energy, we have Nestle's, we have Deckers. We got all these different businesses where you just aren't going to put a tent. I mean, they're just not going to.
And what's this about? Because a couple of councilmen don't have the guts to stand up for state law. I mean, and they can't stand up to their constituents and say, listen, this is the reality. The voters of Iowa have decided this through their legally elected representatives. So let's play ball.
Yeah.
No, we've got to put the city staff through all these time-wasting motions. We have to be fundamentally, purposely dishonest about what we're trying to do.
And the
That's
problem is-
exactly what some of our city council people did. They were fundamentally, at bottom, dishonest as to what their real objective was.
And the problem is we're not going to stop the use of fireworks.
That's right.
I mean, they're still going to be able to shoot fireworks, and we've allowed that during a certain time frame, which we thought was adequate. But some people even argue with that. But again, I just needed some clarification, some direction. So
You can feel however you want about fireworks. And I understand that we're pretty split on this. And what we need to do is have our citizens come together and agree to obey our ordinances. We need greater enforcement, I hope. But what we don't need is games from the city council.
we don't need more regulation.
We don't need more, and we don't need all of the oldest political game in the world. I'm going to appear to do something good while really do something else that I don't want to tell you about because it might make me look not so good.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what happened here. By the way, this has nothing to do with everything, but people should know about this. Fran McCaffrey has now been suspended for 2 games for yelling at officials. So I think we should just say goodbye to the basketball season. I don't think we're working
We
anymore.
don't have anybody to announce it anymore.
That's right.
Yeah. But anyway, I just don't want to do something where we inadvertently ban the sale of fireworks in Fort Dodge through a change in our ordinance. I think we need to look at these things.
That's
And
what the ultimate goal probably was.
Yeah,
That's what the ultimate
yeah,
goal.
but I don't, again, then you're running into legal challenges, and
Of course you are.
I just
And
don't
you're
think-
costing the city a lot of money because fireworks brings how much money does fireworks bring to our town last
That's real hard to tell because the sales tax. I mean, we didn't get any tent. We had the permits the year before. The
Mhm.
first year we charged for inspecting the tents, and they took that ability away from us.
Who
last
did, the
year.
state?
State did.
Mm.
Yeah, said the fire marshal was the only one that could actually inspect the tents, even though they expect us to do it for them, I think. But last year they had a little bump in sales tax, but it's just kind of blended in with everything else. So I don't think anybody was able really to document. I know statewide they estimated about $1 million, I think, in sales tax revenue from the fireworks. So you could probably
Buy 3-4
interpolate-
councilmen for that.
you can interpolate
more.
from that. Probably you could throw a number out there, but it probably wouldn't stick. So
Yeah.
again, I just wanted to make sure that we understood what we were doing and we had an idea as far as what we were going to affect, and just to make sure that things were taken care of properly. I didn't want to jump on something and not know the consequences of our action. So that's why I suggested tabling. They did, the staff met, and I got called, and I'm going to meet with Vicki Reek. She apparently drew the short straw to talk to me about this.
Poor Vicki.
But I like Vicki. We get
Oh,
along
Vicki's
great.
cool.
Yeah, Vicki's good. She knows what she's doing. And so we're going to sit down, and we're probably going to have to look of the properties in the zoning area. There's over 700 of them, and I don't know if we're going to have to go, address by address and sort out who's what, or if they can just do an overlay for me and show me the 200 foot, whatever they're talking about, and just identify the areas that are available. If it doesn't change anything with the existing tents, except for the one on the Community Pizza, which I, again, felt was too close to the residents next door, then I, don't think there'll be any problem. But again, if they're going to have a 200 foot restriction that takes away the ability to put tents anywhere where we're trying to get them to put them, that's a problem. So
that's right.
More ways than one. Yeah. So anyway, a lot of exciting things did happen Monday night. Exciting. We did talk about the parking. The parking situation is never ending. It seems like that's comes up about every, 2 or 3 months. And I don't know if we're ever going to come up with a real definite solution.
Well, it's taxation without representation.
Yeah,
right?
That's what you say.
Yes, it is what I say.
But
and I say that because it's the truth. And you know that too.
Well, I don't mind putting money in parking meters.
That's a whole different story, what your preference is.
Yeah.
But you can have whatever preference you want. But taxation without representation is kind of a fact.
Next thing you know,
and when you're taxing people,
you'll be throwing tea into the Des Moines River next, won't you?
No, I've already done that.
Oh. But anyway, we're looking at different methods. I think.
What? Are you just going to start coming into people's houses and demanding their money?
That would be one thing. But we are going to, when you register a vehicle, if you have an outstanding parking ticket, we're going to make you pay it before you can register your vehicle, which I think is a great idea.
Gosh, you remember some guy came to a city council meeting a few years ago?
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah.
And said, "Gee, it was right around
we got
Christmas."
Like $200 out of that deal.
$200 to the food pantry.
No.
Yeah. Well, anyway, I went to the city council and suggested that we do as Louisville, Kentucky did. And all our parking ticket money went to the food pantry to help the homeless. I thought that would generate much goodwill throughout the state for our town. It would probably be in papers across the state. Instead, it was...
Nobody paid their tickets.
No. People did pay their tickets, but we wanted that money for something else because it's a tax that we're using to fix parking lots downtown. This wasn't widely known at the time. Ladies and gentlemen, if you wait for the Fort Dodge Messenger to find out things like this for you, you're going to get old. But I found out a long time ago because I knew what was happening in the first place. So there was an agreement that, yes, we would crack down on the miscreants who weren't paying their parking lot or their parking tickets, and that money would go to the food pantry. Didn't happen. None of that happened. But now...
$200.
Now he's $200. Everybody went out for pizza and that was it. But now, since this is a potential revenue source, now the city's going to get done. Now
we
we're going to
get
done.
paid what's owed to us. That's big. There's about 1,200 outstanding parking tickets.
Well,
right
that'll spread goodwill throughout the land. In the name of Fort Dodge, will be in every paper across the street,
That's right.
Across the state, going, look what wonderful things we have done.
And we're also looking at license plate recognition, which is going to be kind of a cool deal. We do have to replace our vehicle, and it's time to upgrade that anyway. So going with a conventional vehicle and putting cameras on it, we'll be able to do using computers and software, which is a pretty cool system. They can drive up and down the streets. They can identify people who have been there too long. They can ticket those that are exceeding the parking times. They can extend courtesy tickets out to those that owe us money. I don't think we're quite into the booting and towing category yet, but if you owe over $300, I would imagine you're going to get special attention. So
it's a great time to live in the United States of America, ladies and gentlemen.
Technology is making it easier for you to get caught.
Oh, yeah, I was going to say. We have people from Vanguard going into our houses to determine how much more money we owe the county. We have speed camera cars operated by out-of-state concerns taking our money and taking a little slice of it for themselves, actually a 50% slice of it. We have a Supreme Court that's probably going to demand that one child in each family be a transgender, or we're somehow unequal, and there must be equality. So, these are great. These are great days. Great days.
I'm glad I'm letting you know what happened Monday night.
I'm sorry. I'm kind of wound up. Yeah, I was watching a little bit of these. How we can have such a pathological liar like Mike Cohen on television and be happy about it, or the Democratic Party be happy about it, or anybody.
It is entertaining, though.
Not to me.
Oh,
I'm just,
sorry. I'm sorry you feel that way. So anyway, moving on, we did the fire station move forward. Plans 1 and 2, phases 1 and 2. They're going to add on some sleeping arrangements, redo some of the workout areas, basically
Sleeping arrangements?
Yeah,
Where?
well, at the fire station, we have females there now, you know, and so the sleeping thing's been kind of a challenge for them. And so they're now going to have better plumbing. The building was actually declared unsafe, fire code violations. Imagine that.
Who declared it unsafe?
I think
Fire chief?
Yeah, they just did it.
I was going to say.
Just walk through one day and said, I've had it.
I've had it. I'll just declare the building unsafe.
Put a sticker on the window and let
And
it
what
go.
we need to do is renovate my office.
That's a good start.
That's a real good start. AM 1400 KVFD, the voice of freedom, is on the air, and you're on the air. What is your question?
I'm just kind of curious about that license plate reader.
Yep.
There's like privacy concerns. Where are they going to draw the line on that? Is that just going to be used for parking enforcement only, or if, let's just say like the registered owner doesn't have a driver's license, are they going to dispatch an officer to go check on it?
No, this is just for parking.
Going to go.
The software we're buying is just for parking. There won't be any additional legal ramifications. Again, if you owe money, it will identify that, and it will probably look at the length of time you're parked there. But beyond that, I don't think the software is that well refined.
Okay, and then one other question: the mobile payments, is that going to allow people to plug the meters from inside their office?
Yes, it is.
Okay,
that's
passport. Isn't that kind of getting away from what they want to do? I mean, if you want to keep parking rotating, well, why would you let people plug the meter from a remote location?
Well, that's a good question. Basically, what it's doing is it's a convenience thing. They say a lot of people like the convenience because they don't carry change anymore. So I don't know if they're going to have a big problem with that. If people are willing to pay the money all day long, I guess you're going to still have that problem with shuffling. They were looking at addressing the shuffling ordinance because the license plate reader will actually be able to identify those people that are parked there for an extended period of time. So I don't know what's going to come out of that as we continue with these discussions. We'll probably be looking at an anti-shuffling because with the license plate reader, you can actually establish zones where you actually have to move your car outside of a specific zone before it will tag you. So say you ran out to the mall and picked something up and came back and you parked in the same block that you were parked before, the license plate reader could basically say that you've been parked there longer than you should have and give you a ticket. So the discussion was that we weren't really in favor of zoning this thing. So I don't know what's going to happen with the anti-shuffling, but that was brought up in the workshop on Monday.
Just remember, the whole thing is to collect more money. That's the point of all this.
I hate to be all cliche like that, but it just seems like we'll use this argument for this situation, but then now we'll let them plug in. We'll use this situation over here because we don't want sale spots, you know, or we don't want that spot being used all day. But then now we're going to want people to, you know, now we're going to allow people to plug the meter, you know, from a remote location. You know, it just seems like there's no clear objective even being established yet.
Well, you know, you say it's a cliche, but that is the ultimate objective, is to get more money. That's, you know, that is the ultimate answer. We need to get more money here. So we're going to make arrangements to get that done. That's it.
Yeah, but we're also looking at changing some of the fees for the parking lots. We'd like to move the people off the street into the lots.
Well, maybe they could go shopping down at McGregor's.
Yeah.
There we go.
Yeah. So anyway, several of the lots are going to be dropped to $15 for a month. So it's going to be a lot less expensive to park in a lot than it is on the street and feed the meter all day. But we are looking at an anti-shuffling, discussion, but I don't know what's going to come of it.
Yeah, as soon as I read that thing about the mobile payments on there, I was just like, well, this is kind of going backwards on what we're told the problem is.
Well, I kind of questioned, the fact if you do load up, say you're at a meeting somewhere and your 2 hours is expired and you put another 2 hours in, is the license plate recognition going to be able to talk to the meter to let you know that you've actually done that? And they tell me as long as the meter is loaded, that the passport, which is your remote fee that you put in, as long as that will talk to the license plate recognition people to actually show that you are there. So, and you paid for it. So, I mean, this is pretty high tech stuff. But again, that shuffling thing, we've had discussions about that. We talked to the Main Street people here a week or two ago, had a 2-hour meeting with the business owners downtown. And so, parking is one of those things, no matter what solution you come up with, there's still going to be problems associated with it. So we're looking at it.
I just wonder if they shouldn't get rid of meters altogether and then blanket everything as, either the 1 hour or 2 hour limit, and then just have the camera. I just don't see how having 2 different systems or 3 different systems is going to be a good thing.
Yeah. Well, again, if we do that, eliminate the meters, and people are still going to be able to park all day and just get tickets, I guess. I don't know.
Where are these high turnover areas again? Down in Central Avenue?
Central area up on 11th to 12th, and in front of like Old Boston's. Those are high density areas.
Yeah,
they've got maps. They've studied all this.
I don't think you want to go up around 12th Street. That's where Daniel Pharmacy's at.
Up around Daniels, those people are in and out. They don't really shop. They go and pick stuff up. Yeah. So,
but they stay all day in Old Boston.
Some people do.
Let's see, what's across the street from Old Boston? Oh, that's right, a parking lot. Kitty
parking
corner.
lot.
Oh, that's right, McGregor Furniture. And the other way, well, Terry's Candy Store's over there.
Yeah.
In the bank, and in an empty building.
Yeah.
I could see why
you should these parking discussions, you should really bring in Jim Bird and Chris Patrick from Main Street, as well as Carissa, and they would have more information as far as the feelings. So they've got downtown surveys that they've done.
And caller, we beat him up enough on this. I guess we're going to have to let him off here, before he's going to get sullen if we don't. So, hey, thanks for calling. All right. This is AM 1400 KVFD, the voice of Fort Dodge.
Michael Devine at AM 1400 KVFD.
Listen to this.
Making radio great again.
A path for redemption, ladies and gentlemen. That's all we're looking for. News, weather, the obituaries, and more Menke coming up.
What if I told you there was a way to step into another gear for your brain and be much sharper, more focused, and improve your memory to a level that you could only dream about, and notice these results in 30 minutes? Hard to believe? Neuroscientists are calling this new brain discovery the biggest advancement in brain science to date. It's called Limitless, the brain pill of the future. Take it, and within 30 minutes, you'll transport your mind to a new level of focus and clarity you would have never thought possible.
I took Limitless, and it started working in minutes. All of a sudden, it felt like a dark cloud had been lifted up right before my eyes. I have a mental clarity I've never felt before.
Biz execs, athletes, teachers, and students are calling Limitless a secret weapon for the brain. You have nothing to lose, so call now and find out how to get a free bottle today.
To find out how to get your free bottle of Limitless, call 800-681-9041. That's 800-681-9041. Free bottle for a limited time. Call now, 800-681-9041, 800-681-9041.
Good afternoon. I'm Alex Benzagal with the KVFD Afternoon News. The murder trial of an Indiana man accused of killing a Fort Dodge woman in 2017 has been continued. The murder trial of 26-year-old Philip A. Williams of Lafayette, Indiana, was scheduled to begin in Mason City on Monday, but his defense team objected to the fact that there was only one African-American in the jury, and Williams is African-American. A new trial date and location has not been announced. Williams faces a first-degree murder charge in the death of 26-year-old Jessica Gomez of Fort Dodge. Williams is accused of killing Gomez on August 5th, 2017, along with 27-year-old Mackenzie Carnegie of Clare, whose trial was moved to Story County on June 10th. The city of Algona was recognized recently with a Best Development Award from the environmental group 1,000 Friends of Iowa. Algona City Administrator Kurt Wiseman talked about the permeable parking lot project that earned the award.
You had the permeable pavers through down the middle of the parking lot, so that stormwater, rather than just running straight off the parking lot into the storm sewer directly to the river, it will infiltrate down through those pavers, through a granular bed, down into pipes that will then lead it over to those tree trenches, where the water will slowly flow through there and get further treatment by the plantings in those trenches. They'll uptake the nutrients in that. And also slows down the runoff of stormwater.
Wiseman says the city is proud of the award.
The city is very proud of it, and we're trying to be a leader in these types of projects, but also it's more just the education of the public in what we do. I mean, we sit up here towards the top of the watershed, and yes, we experienced some flooding in the river around Algona, but nothing dramatic, no major damage in that. But if we can slow down the rate of runoff into the river, that will, in theory, reduce the peak flood elevation downstream from us, but also more in the treatment of the water it's not just we're treating our drinking water or treating our wastewater. We're also treating the storm water that runs off of and basically washes clean all of our streets and our parking lots. We can treat it before we send it into the river. So this is just one small step towards that.
Wiseman says the city of Algona will have a ribbon cutting for the parking lot this spring or early summer. A local chapter of the NAACP returned to Fort Dodge last month, and President Sherry Washington talked about the future of the organization yesterday on the Divine Intervention Show.
Right now, we're building our foundation. So we're cementing our group and we're doing our membership drive. So with the membership drive, of course, we're looking or trying to involve as many African Americans as we can, because without that, you don't need an NAACP chapter. That's our first goal and our target to do that, as well as engage our Caucasian people of every color in race. We want to involve everyone.
Washington talked about the importance of breaking barriers and the topic of bridging the gap between the African American community in Fort Dodge and law enforcement. Fort Dodge Police Chief Roger Porter talked about the importance the department puts on community involvement.
Now it's evolved so much more into community policing, community, how to engage the community and gain their trust. We can't do our jobs without involving the community. And that doesn't matter. It doesn't matter whether you're black or white or whatever color you are. Like Sherry said, Sherry and I graduated high school together. We went to school together. And those are the bridges that we're trying to knock down.
The membership drive is ongoing and prices are $30 for adults and $15 for youth. For more information, contact Fort Dodge NAACP at naacpfortdodge@yahoo.com or find them on Facebook at NAACP Fort Dodge. I'm Alex Benzagal with the KVFD Afternoon News. Have a great day.
This is AM 1400 KVFD, the voice of Fort Dodge. It's 2:38. Winter is going to stay with us for a while. It's 12 degrees right now. It's going to be sunny today with a high of 12. Wind chill factor temperatures 5 to 10 degrees below zero. Overnight chance of snow, low around 1 tomorrow. Snow mainly in the morning with a high of 18. Friday, a good chance of snow, cloudy with a high of 23. Saturday, sunny with a high of 13. Sunday, sunny and cold with a high of 4. Monday, mostly sunny and cold with a high of 6. And Tuesday, mostly sunny with a high of 13. So 13 degrees is is as warm as it's going to get for the next 7 days, which is not what I was hoping to report. That groundhog last February the 2nd promised us a shorter winter. I'd like to find that little rat and strangle it. Anyway, obituaries this hour brought to us by Gunderson Funeral Home and Cremation Services at 1615 North 15th Street, Fort Dodge. You may contact Gunderson Funeral Home and Cremation Services by calling 515-576-7128 or online at www.gundersonfuneralhome.com. Mary Lawler of Fort Dodge has died. She passed away Sunday at the Marion home. There will be a funeral service for Mary Lawler, 97 when she passed, and that'll be Saturday the 2nd here in town. Bernie Fisher of Fort Dodge has died. Bernie Fisher, 92 years old, died on Thursday at the Paula J. Baber Hospice Home. There will be a funeral service for Bernie Fisher, Funeral service will be at 10:30 in the morning Friday here in town. Obituaries this hour brought to us by Gunderson Funeral Home and Cremation Services at 1615 North 15th Street, Fort Dodge. You may contact Gunderson Funeral Home and Cremation Services by calling 515-576-7128 or online at www.gundersonfuneralhome.com. It's 2:39, 12 degrees. With a look at the closing market report here at AM 1400 KVFD, here's Dwayne Murley.
Here's the AM 1400 KVFD weatherology
Here's
forecast.
a look at how the markets closed today. March corn down 2.5 at 363 3/4. May down 2 1/4 at 373 3/4. July corn down 2 1/4 at 382 1/4, and December down 1 3/4 at 394 1/2. March soybeans down 1/4 penny at 903 1/2. May down 1/4 penny at 916 3/4. July beans closed unchanged at 930 1/2. November up 1/2 penny at 949 1/4. And March wheat closed up 3/4 at 461. Soybean meal up 180 a ton at 305. February live cattle down 17 at 129.40. April unchanged to 129.92. March feeder cattle up 42 cents at 143.87. April up 45 at 147.22. April lean hogs down 12 cents at 55.60, and May up 27 cents at 65.60. From the Hawkeye Farm Show, I'm Dwayne Murley.
As the nation's leader in pork production and pork exports, Iowa's pork producers are doing things right. It's their ethical and moral responsibility. Hog farmers keep their pigs safe and healthy, safeguard natural resources, protect public health, and build strong communities every day. Pork quality, responsible production, and continuous improvement are roles they take very seriously. Iowa's Pork Producers, producing safe, affordable food. Sponsored by Iowa's Pork Producers and their Pork Checkoff.
The Webster County pork producers remind you when it comes to protecting their family's health, Iowa's pig farmers are some of the most concerned people around. Safe, affordable, delicious, and nutritious pork can be served for your dinner tonight. Roasted, grilled, stewed, sauteed, stir-fried, broiled, kebabbed, sauced, dipped, sandwiched in your new recipes and your old recipes. Why not buy some pork today and serve it up tonight? This message brought to you by the Webster County pork producers, striving to serve people, pigs, and the planet.
What if I told you there was a way to step into another gear for your brain and be much sharper, more focused, and improve your memory to a level that you could only dream about, and notice these results in 30 minutes? Hard to believe? Neuroscientists are calling this new brain discovery the biggest advancement in brain science to date. It's called Limitless, the brain pill of the future. Take it, and within 30 minutes, you'll transport your mind to a new level of focus and clarity you would have never thought possible.
I took Limitless and it started working in minutes. All of a sudden, it felt like a dark cloud had been lifted up right before my eyes. I have a mental clarity I've never felt before.
Biz execs, athletes, teachers, and students are calling Limitless a secret weapon for the brain. You have nothing to lose, so call now and find out how to get a free bottle today.
To find out how to get your free bottle of Limitless, call 800-681-9041. That's 800-681-9041. Free bottle for a limited time. Call now, 800-681-9041, 800-681-9041.
The following message has been paid for by the Iowa Department of Agriculture and Land Stewardship. If you sell fruit and vegetables commercially in Iowa, the FDA's produce safety rule likely affects you. To find out if you are in compliance and to learn about training classes and resources offered by the Iowa State University Food Safety Team, visit iowasafeproduce.com. The training team is coming to the Water's Edge Nature Center in Algona on March 12th. Registration ends March 1st. This message was supported by FDA Grant 5810 and does not necessarily represent the official views of the FDA.
Michael Devine at AM 1400 KVFD.
Listen to this.
Making radio great again.
All right, this is AM 1400 KVFD, the voice of Fort Dodge. The snarkiest radio program in north central Iowa, maybe the whole state, I don't know. With me now is the absolute king of snark. That would be City Councilman Terry Minke, poet, warrior, porn star.
You forgot Scholar.
Scholar, I did forget Scholar. He is a scholar, and he is Mr. Research. Some people are Mr. Science. Some people are...
I did want to put a little plug in for the Growth Alliance dinner tomorrow.
Oh, it is tomorrow, isn't it?
Starts at 5, social hour, dinner, I guess, at 6, and they're going to be a good speaker. I think the thing's sold out, if I'm not. I don't know if it's ever happened. Yeah, I think they posted that last week. It's that new communications director they have over there, just,
Lydia.
Just plugging everything that she can. Facebook, all over social media. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. She's in charge. So Dennis got to give her a pay raise, I think, because she's done
Dennis
such a good...
who was going to give her a pay raise?
That big tall guy that I was
I know.
Yeah.
But he's the leader of the band, and those guys are going to say, I'm going to take all this money from you.
So it'll be fun. I think it's going to be a good night. They got a good speaker, and I think a lot of good things will come of it.
Yeah.
A good time to...
I know Steve Gosweiler, the market manager downstairs right now, he's thinking to himself, boy, that Devine's done a great job over these last 10 years. I really should think of ways to give him a pay raise.
I'll talk to him on the way out.
Yeah, that'll be a good idea.
That always does. One thing there's a couple things that kind of were glossed over that I don't think people were aware of. The GEO bond, we've got a hearing set that's going to be coming up next month on the GEO bond. Every 2 years, we've been borrowing money, and this is planned. We have long-term repayment plans. We're actually retiring debt at a fairly high rate, so we're able to borrow money, and now is the time to borrow. We do have the Wakanza Annex demo in the GEO bond, which is a $3 million set aside. Last month, we applied for a $500,000. That's a lot of money to take the asbestos out of the building. With an EPA brownfield cleanup grant. We will have to match that with $100,000. So once the asbestos is out, I should back up there, since they haven't separated the Warden and the Wakanza Annex in two separate buildings yet for state historical tax credits. That's kind of the hang up on the whole Warden Plaza redevelopment, is getting that separation spelled out and getting everything signed off by the National Park Service in Washington. Once that's done, then we're looking at taking the Wakanza Annex down. which will be exciting because then we're going to have that bare wall of the Warden that nobody really knows what it looks like.
We're going to take it down.
We're going to take it down. Yep. Right next to the Warden, that whole half a block. We're going to knock her down.
When's that happening?
Well, hopefully this summer. We're going to get the money set aside and talking to the engineers. They're not really sure how that's going to happen. I say blow it up. I think that'd be cool.
Well, the Wakanza is
Annex.
The annex.
It's got to be the annex. The Wakanza is the building to the north.
Building to the north.
Yeah, that's the apartments that are still being lived in. This is the annex. Which
so you're not going to throw them out?
No.
Because a lot of those people, used to go down and complain at the city council their streets weren't being fixed. But they were living in the Wakanza.
Yeah. Well, anyway,
I think they might have been being used.
Yeah, there are a couple of bridgeways across the alleyway there from the Wakanza over to the Wakanza Annex. They apparently have to remain, so they have to figure out how to shore those up. I don't know if they're being used for anything. That's going to be an engineering question, I guess. But again, the wall for the Warden and the Wakanza are kind of a shared wall, so it'll be interesting to see how they're going to take that down. But we're looking at hopefully getting the asbestos out. If we get the grant, we can probably get going on that fairly quickly and then moving into the demolition this summer.
This is AM 1400 KVFD. Good afternoon. You're on the air with Councilman Minke.
So listening to this conversation, am I to assume you're still going to try to build that building on 11th Street and remove another street again?
Now you're talking about the intermodal transportation hub.
Transportation hub?
You're talking, yeah, that's what we call it. The parking facility, is that what you're talking about? Or you're talking about the rec building?
Or whatever you're talking about tearing down there and putting up on 10th Street or whatever it is.
It's adjacent to 10th Street, but we're not planning at this point. It's just demolition. There are no plans to do any additional building down there.
That's what I was going to say. That's the dumbest thing I ever heard.
But
first off, there's nobody up there to park. If you're going to build something, you ought to stick it down there where the church is at and the old fairway, so that when people come down the Carl King Bridge, they see this cool facility that you can have sports or events in. You can add in whatever else other fun things in there. Make it so that they can use it year round, unlike our $9 million swimming pool.
Okay, could I interject? Could I interject something here?
Okay. Let Minke talk here. Otherwise, I'm going to have you write a check for the whole thing. Yeah.
Well, again, this demolition is a nuisance property. I mean, the Wakanza Annex is in very poor shape. The windows are bad. It needs to come down. So we have to do something with that property. And to me, it's going to clean up the downtown area. It could be the start of the revitalization of the Warden Plaza project. And again, I don't have any information on the rec center or the intermodal transportation hub. We did have the financing was turned down. I know they are going to reapply for that grant to look at that. But the rec center is a completely different entity. That is not a city project. That's a private entity. And that's where Randy Kuhlman and Evan Mulholland and those guys have been working on that for a decade. So I don't know what their plans are. I agree with you. I think the original place they were going to put it was down there where the, what's it called? The Coliseum, the old Fairway store would be a great place for it. And I think that's still in a discussion, but I don't know because I'm not part of those discussions.
You're not part of it.
Nope. I'm not.
Well, I thank the caller, but I did end that a little early. I got rid of a couple of councilmen for yelling about something they didn't know about. So I'm going to kind of hold that to a new standard I have in the show.
But anyway,
if you don't really know what you're talking about, don't show up yelling.
But again, the Wakanza Annex is in very poor shape. And I mean, something's got to be done and it will help stimulate the Warden project. We're going to have to look at parking down there eventually and either a parking facility or an expanded parking lot adjacent to the Warden will probably be necessary either to the south or to the east where the Wakanza Annex is going to be knocked down shortly. And the other thing that was kind of glossed over, the land use map for multifamily housing has been a big last month or two. We ran into a little hiccup out there on 32nd Street with KDG, who is the developer of the Warden project.
A little hiccup. You kicked a huge multifamily apartment development.
Yeah,
that's a little. Boy, you're a master of subtlety. That's very subtle.
We're trying to keep them happy.
Subtle.
But again, we do have a developer that's looking for multifamily locations, and we needed to identify some areas, and we did add back into the mix the Rolling Hills area. That's about 32 acres, 31 acres out there. And we did redo that to 23 acres on the southern part to kind of keep it away from some of the residences out there adjacent to the large multifamily housing, the Section 8 housing apartment house that's out there on the south side of Rolling Hills. Again, this did not do anything as far as rezoning. We don't know if the landowners are going to be willing or able to sell the property. That's between the developers and the landowners, but we just identified additional areas where multifamily housing would be, I guess, acceptable in the community. So we did move forward with that and added that in. We don't know, I guess, why not Parks and Rec, but Planning and Zoning had taken Rolling Hills off of the list, and we thought that was a good area for it. So we put it back on Monday night. The other thing that's moving forward, which is kind of a long-term process, is the Olson Park Zoo. We actually did set public
Yeah, that's a
hearing.
long process,
That's
isn't
a
it?
long drawn-out
Wow.
process. But we are moving forward with that. We've got the bids out now to do some work. We're going to do some cuts on Olson Park Drive into the parking lot. We're going to change that road that kind of goes through the park. We're going to cut that off, and it's going to become part of the trail system. And then we're going to rough in for the pond and put in some infrastructure and get some of the sidewalks laid out. And, I think we're slowly but surely starting. And we did throw another $250,000 in the pot for the Olson Park Zoo in the initial bond offering, and there'll be additional money coming forward with that too. So we've actually spent, we've got available to us over $1 million now to spend at Olson Park Zoo, which is long overdue.
I have a question.
Oh, no.
Yes, we have a Pioneer League.
Coming in.
Coming in.
Yeah.
Isn't that great?
Yeah. They're looking for places to put people. They want housing for some of the young guys.
Sure. And they're going to play at Patterson Field.
Yeah.
Whose dumb idea was that?
I don't know.
I mean, they draw 1,000 to 1,500 people in Carroll, Iowa.
And there's no place to park at Patterson.
And there's no place to park.
No
And we
place to
could be
sit.
getting city concessions if they were out to, let's see, do we have a ball diamond anywhere? Oh, yeah, Harlan Rogers.
Yeah.
But apparently they made a request at the city, and somebody at the city told them no. They had
We haven't identified who that person is.
No, I have a pretty good idea.
Yeah,
So do
we
you.
we had the discussion on that the other day. Actually, the CVB, we had a discussion.
I mean,
and
come on. Let's think about this for a second. This would be a good thing for our town and for our area.
Yeah.
It would be a moneymaker.
I agree.
I mean, if you're not from Fort Dodge, you don't even know where the hell Patterson Field is.
It's a nice field, though.
It is. It's always been a
beautiful-
nice. I used to get every year. Jerry Patterson would send me a card asking for a donation,
me too.
and every year I'd send him back a donation. Would
Now
be
it's
all
our-
the money in the
Our
world.
Johnson and Evan Conrad now
Yeah,
are kind of on that.
and a couple of good baseball guys.
Yep.
But this could, these are these are real baseball players. They're adults who play ball. They've had a college experience there. This could be a big time.
Yep.
As big as we're going to get.
You had the
And
big.
somebody at the city said, no, you can't use Harlan Rogers. You have to go down here.
You should have asked the big guy yesterday. You had him in here.
I did, and I forgot.
You could have got sweat on his forehead trying to explain
He
that
gets
away.
sweat on his forehead anyway. Yeah, Ferry does okay, though. He's one of my better guests.
Yeah.
He's worth.
He's bigger than us.
Well, he's bigger, and
Yeah, I don't-
he actually knows what's going on, which is a fresh
Yeah,
change.
no, I heard about that Pioneer League, and I thought that's kind of a cool idea. I'm not that familiar with them, but then they told me the numbers, and then they told me Patterson Field, and I did the same thing. I scratched my head and said, "Is that the best
I did
location?"
too when they were in here. I said Patterson, and I didn't want to say what the hell are you talking about, Patterson Field.
Yeah,
But now I do.
We were talking about that. We've been meeting. Jay Sanchez is here from
Yeah.
Fireball Run, which is live now on Amazon.
Oh, it
Prime.
is?
Yeah,
Excellent.
they're
I'll watch
live
it.
on Friday or Saturday, something. We're on episode 16 through 20. Fort Dodge is on those. So I asked who won, and they told me that that Carrie over at the CVB said that was the last episode, and she hadn't got that far yet. So obviously, you could tell that she's a female. That would be my first thing, is to tune into the last episode to see who won. And then,
Very sexist, Doctor.
I know it, but
We'll
I
have
back
to
up.
examine your brain for unconscious bias.
First you have
See,
to
that's
find it.
only a white male thing.
Yeah.
Anybody who would jump to conclusion because Gary Dolphins, as a baseball player, played like King Kong, or a basketball player played like King Kong,
Aren't you-
maybe guilty of a little bias of their own.
Yeah, aren't you curious who won though? I mean, don't you? I mean, Matt and Matt haven't talked, so I don't know if they. I think they finished well, but I don't know.
I'll check it out. Yeah, I would probably do that.
Yeah, I'd
But
probably,
episodes 16 to 23 to
20, 16 to 20. We're in 5. We've got more episodes than any other city.
Well, we're
for
cool.
in the history of Fireball Run.
Wow.
But anyway,
Sanchez
so-
must have got himself a girlfriend.
so yeah, but anyway, they were actually in Omaha. Kerry was at a show over in Omaha, and he flew into Omaha, and then he drove back through that nice weather on Sunday.
And he lives in New Mexico.
He lives in New Mexico.
Yeah, he lives northwest in a real nice community out there in the mountains.
Yeah, Santa Fe, I think.
Santa Fe, yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, he's in town. But anyway, getting back to the baseball thing, that was brought up in our discussions. I knew about it because I knew they were looking for people to house these young players when they come into town. I think it's for 9 weeks this summer. And, the same questions were asked. And I think it came up at the city county meeting too, is, why Patterson? Why not Harlan? And I guess.
And the response was what?
Well, since David wasn't there, it was so we didn't have really a lot of guidance.
If somebody knows what David Furyk is thinking on this issue, could they give us a call, 515-955-1400? Because it is another one of those things that come out of the city that nobody wants to take responsibility for and doesn't make any sense at all.
Yeah, I don't know. I think it's going to be a good deal, though, because like you said, they're good ball
It'll
players.
be a good deal if we get it out to Harlan Rogers.
Yeah, if we get it out where there are actually some stands and whatever. We are putting the netting in there,
Some
too.
stands and some parking and some
concessions.
actual concessions.
Yeah, we're going to have a new concession stand out there, so that'd be cool.
Why are we spending money out there if we're not going to use the place?
Well, we're using it. It's being used extensively, except
And
for some of the fields. They're not being used as
I mean,
much
we
as
can
others.
we can go out there for celebration, but we can't play baseball out
That's
there.
soccer field, yeah. Yeah.
Oh, soccer field, right.
So anyway, the
We're not using the facilities at Harlan Rogers at all. Those cars are just suspended in air somewhere.
Yeah. So anyway, we did have a local contractor got the bid on the reverse osmosis plant, Woodruff Construction, just under $20 million. That will start sometime this spring and be done with, I believe, next year. And McClure Engineering got oversight. We approved some money for that. They're actually going to have an engineer on site every day to make sure everything goes well. This is a pretty high-tech program. So Woodruff's also got the concession stand at Harlan Rogers, and then the fire station is Jensen Builders. So Jensen got the fire station, Woodruff got the reverse osmosis plant. A lot of new construction, street repairs. 22nd Street will be dug up this summer by St. Edmund. It's due. It fell apart. And also 14th Street is on the agenda. My request for $1 million for street repairs and the GEO bond did not make it to the final cut, which is unfortunate. It did last year, and this year it was taken out in favor of some other projects that needed more attention. So
Who's the top act at Celebration this year?
top act is Sammy Hager.
Sammy Hager, that's right.
I Can't Drive 55.
We Can't Drive 55.
Yeah, and then you got
Van Halen.
Vince Neil, I think,
Vince Neil, yeah.
is going to be there.
Vince
too.
was playing in bars up in Minneapolis
Was
for
he?
a while. Yeah, it's but he's I'm sure he'd be a good.
Yeah, Sammy's got his own tequila line, doesn't he? I think he does. So
Sammy's
that-
done all right in life. He's got his own nice little place down there in Mexico.
Yeah.
He owns a bar and a nice home in Mexico.
Yeah. I'm not that familiar with his music. I liked
Well, he
him
was
during
with
the
Van Halen for a number of years.
Yeah, David Lee
Actually,
Roth.
I liked Van Halen with Sammy better than I did with.
Yeah, and the Country Jam is coming up this fall. I think they already announced the headliner for that, but I can't remember his name. We like to see.
They have done an outstanding job with
That's
that
really-
Country Jam the last couple of years. They
Yep, I
really
wish
have.
they could do a couple more of them downtown every year. That would be great.
Yeah, I mean, we haven't
Yeah,
had much
handle.
trouble. The shows have just been terrific.
And people have been able to park and actually get to
all
the
of
event.
that sort of thing. Dr. Terry Mickey, City Councilman, has been our guest. Thank you, Terry.
No problem.
3:00 in the afternoon. This is AM 1400 KBFT, the voice of Fort Dodge.
Hi, this is Leslie Segretti.
And I'm Tom Kreitler, and you can hear the Money Pit every Saturday afternoon from 4 to 6 on the voice of Fort Dodge, AM 1400 KVFD, Fort Dodge.
A long day in the hot seat for the president's former lawyer. I'm Lisa Brady, Fox News. Michael Cohen ripping the president while apologizing for his own lies about 2 months before he heads to prison.
Questions have been raised about whether I know of direct evidence that Mr. Trump or his campaign colluded with Russia. I do not.
But Cohen tells a House committee he has his suspicions. For instance, an overheard conversation leading him to believe the president did know in advance about the Trump Tower meeting arranged by Donald Trump Jr. with a Russian lawyer. He also says the president knew in advance about a WikiLeaks dump damaging to Hillary Clinton. And Cohen says he's ashamed of his own actions over 10 years working for someone he now describes as a racist and con man.
How many times did
Mr. Trump ask you to threaten an individual or entity on his behalf?
This question from California Congresswoman Jackie Spire.
Quite a few times.
50 times?
More.
100 times?
More.
200 times?
More.
500 times?
Probably.
Cohen also says the president wrote personal checks after the election to reimburse him for hush money payments to porn star Stormy Daniels. Republicans on the committee repeatedly attacking Cohen's credibility.
He will say whatever he wants to accomplish his own personal goals. He's a fake witness, and his presence here is a travesty. I hope the American people see through this.
Tennessee Congressman Mark Green among those accusing Democrats of a political fishing expedition. A statement just released by the Trump campaign refers to Cohen's array of crimes, including perjury, asking why Congress even bothered to swear him in this time. Stocks finished lower. After fluctuating all day, the Dow down 72 points at the closing bell, back under 26K. The NASDAQ, though, slightly higher. This is Fox News.
You know what's fun? Refunds. And using my tax refund to save big at Family Dollar, where you can save $5, $10, and $20 with Family Dollar Smart Coupons. This week, 12-pack Pepsi products, buy 3 for $10. Angel Soft Bath Tissue or Sparkle Paper Towels, $4.50. And Tide Liquid or Pods, $2.95 with your Family Dollar Smart Coupons. Sign up today. Download our app or visit FamilyDollar.com, where Family Dollar is refund.
There's nothing small about your business. Your passion, your hours, your reputation, it's all huge. Your partnerships, even bigger. With Dell Small Business Technology Advisors, you'll get the tech, advice, and one-on-one partnership to help your business grow. Because with reliable Dell PCs with Intel Core processors, you can focus on what matters most, getting business done. Call 877-BUY-DELL to speak with an advisor today. That's 877-BUY-DELL.
House just passing a gun bill, considered the first major gun legislation taken up by Congress in nearly 25 years. It would expand federal background checks by closing loopholes, including for internet and gun show sales.
It increases safety without limiting our Second Amendment rights by implementing common sense policy.
Kansas Democratic Congresswoman Sharice Davids, 8 Republicans joining Democrats to support the bill, which faces an uncertain path in the U.S. Senate. A former police officer in Florida is using the state's controversial self-defense law to claim his shooting of a stranded motorist was justified.
Prosecutors in Palm Beach County, Florida, say a former police officer fired for shooting a stranded motorist to death and now being tried for his manslaughter gave a statement to investigators which doesn't fit the evidence. Former officer Newman Raja says Corey Jones pointed a gun at him, forcing Raja to fire, but an audio recording purports to show Raja, who was in plain clothes and who left his badge in his car, never identified himself as a policeman. Prosecutors say Jones, who was legally carrying a gun, threw his gun away when confronted and ran away when shot. In Miami, Eben Brown, Fox News.
Supporters of legalizing marijuana try again in New Hampshire. The state house approving a bill.
The bill would allow legal possession of an ounce of the drug and establish a statewide commission that would regulate sales. The bill now goes for debate in a state house committee before coming back to the full house for a final vote. The New Hampshire legislature has gone down this road before. Last year, the House passed a similar marijuana measure, but the legislation was defeated in the state Senate. Both chambers are controlled by Democrats, but Republican Governor Chris Sununu said he would veto the bill if it got to his desk.
Fox's Gernal Scott, recreational marijuana is currently legal in 10 states. I'm Lisa Brady. This is Fox News.
Your news, your town, your station. KVFD News when it breaks.
Good afternoon. I'm Alex Benzagal with the KVFD Afternoon News. The murder trial of an Indiana man accused of killing a Fort Dodge woman in 2017 has been continued. The murder trial of 26-year-old Philip A. Williams of Lafayette, Indiana, was scheduled to begin in Mason City on Monday, but his defense team objected to the fact that there was only one African-American in the jury, and Williams is African-American. A new trial date and location has not been announced. Williams faces a first-degree murder charge in the death of 26-year-old Jessica Gomez of Fort Dodge. Williams is accused of killing Gomez on August 5th, 2017, along with 27-year-old Mackenzie Carnegie of Clare, whose trial was moved to Story County on June 10th. The city of Algona was recognized recently with a Best Development Award from the environmental group 1000 Friends of Iowa. Algona City Administrator Kurt Wiseman talked about the permeable parking lot project that earned the award.
You had the permeable pavers through down the middle of the parking lot so that stormwater, rather than just running straight off the parking lot into the storm sewer directly to the river, it will infiltrate down through those pavers, through a granular bed, down into pipes that will then lead it over to those tree trenches where the water will slowly flow through there and get further treatment by the plantings in those trenches. Uptake the nutrients in that, and also slows down the runoff of stormwater.
Wiseman says the city is proud of the award.
The city is very proud of it, and we're trying to be a leader in these types of projects, but also it's more just the education of the public and what we do. I mean, we sit up here towards the top of the watershed, and yes, we experienced some flooding in the river around Algona, but nothing dramatic, no major damage in that. But if we can slow down the rate of runoff into the river, that will, in theory, reduce the peak flood elevation downstream from us, but also more in the treatment of the water. It's not just we're treating our drinking water or treating our wastewater. We're also treating the storm water that runs off of and basically washes clean all of our streets and our parking lots. And we can treat it before we send it into the river. So this is just one small step towards that.
Wiseman says the city of Algona will have a ribbon cutting for the parking lot this spring or early summer. A local chapter of the NAACP returned to Fort Dodge last month, and President Sherry Washington talked about the future of the organization yesterday on the Divine Intervention Show.
Right now, we're building our foundation. So we're cementing our group and we're doing our membership drive. So with the membership drive, of course, we're looking or trying to involve as many African Americans as we can, because without that, you don't need an NAACP chapter. That's our first goal and our target to do that, as well as engage our Caucasian people of every color in race. We want to involve everyone.
Washington talked about the importance of breaking barriers and the topic of bridging the gap between the African American community in Fort Dodge and law enforcement. Fort Dodge Police Chief Roger Porter talked about the importance the department puts on community involvement.
Now it's evolved so much more into community policing, how to engage the community and gain their trust. We can't do our jobs without involving the community, and that doesn't matter. It doesn't matter whether you're black or white or whatever color you are. Like Sherry said, Sherry and I graduated high school together. We went to school together, and those are the bridges that we're trying to knock down.
The membership drive is ongoing, and prices are $30 for adults and $15 for youth. For more information, contact Fort Dodge NAACP at naacpfortdodge@yahoo.com or find them on Facebook at NAACP Fort Dodge. I'm Alex Benzagal with the KVFD Afternoon News. Have a great day.
Here's the AM 1400 KVFD weatherology forecast. Sunshine mixed with clouds at times this afternoon, with daytime highs approaching 12. Northwesterly winds 10 to 15 miles per hour. Lows dip down to about 1 above. Tonight, cloudy skies expected. Cloudy skies. Tomorrow, snow likely, high of 18. About an inch of snow tomorrow through Friday. From the Weatherology Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Jennifer Wojcicki. Currently, it's 12.
Have you ever wondered how the brain works? What makes us tick? Join me, Greg Woods, every Wednesday morning for all the latest news on the brain, on aging, and the science behind it all. It's The Mind Boggles, every Wednesday morning at 8:30 on AM 1400 KVFD.
Take the worry out of winter with a winter weather advisor on KVFD, brought to you by Community Health Center Fort Dodge, offering dental, behavioral health, and general medical assistance for men, women, and children. They're committed to your well-being. Community Health Center. Get to know them. And Creative Cakes, making life sweet with espresso, lunch, gourmet cupcakes, and other sweet treats. Creative Cakes in the Crossroads Mall, Fort Dodge. They make life sweet. Listen for the winter weather advisor on the Voice of Fort Dodge, AM 1400 KVFD.
What if I told you there was a way to step into another gear for your brain and be much sharper, more focused, and improve your memory to a level that you could only dream about, and notice these results in 30 minutes? Hard to believe? Neuroscientists are calling this new brain discovery the biggest advancement in brain science to date. It's called Limitless, the brain pill of the future. Take it, and within 30 minutes, you'll transport your mind to a new level of focus and clarity you would have never thought possible.
I took Limitless and it started working in minutes. All of a sudden, it felt like a dark cloud had been lifted up right before my eyes. I have a mental clarity I've never felt before.
Biz execs, athletes, teachers, and students are calling Limitless a secret weapon for the brain. You have nothing to lose, so call now and find out how to get a free bottle today.
To find out how to get your free bottle of Limitless, call 800-681-9041. That's 800-681-9041. Free bottle for a limited time. Call now, 800-681-9041, 800-681-9041.
Michael Devine at AM 1400 KVFD.
Listen to this.
Making radio great again.
That's right. We're making radio great again at AM 1400 KVFD, the voice of Fort Dodge. Joining me in that endeavor right now is David Osterberg of the Iowa Policy Project. He's the co-founder of the Iowa Policy Project. How are you, David?
I'm pretty good. Happy to be on such a auspicious radio program, making it great again.
Oh, absolutely. Making radio great again. It couldn't get much worse, so I thought I'd make it great again. Local radio has kind of gone down the tubes, but I came along to save the day. I'm in Cedar Rapids, Iowa City every now and then, of course. My son lives in the area, and I got to tell you that for larger areas of our state, their radio stations are terrible. I can't believe it.
Please come here. Please come on down.
I was going to say, my God, that one in Iowa City is better than that big WMT monster they have in Cedar Rapids. But anyway, David Osterberg is with the Iowa Policy Project. And the Iowa Policy Project, of course, is a research firm, essentially, that they hope their work will affect public policy. And, of course, there's Dave and I have been talking about it for years. There's the Merchants of Doubt will not really let that happen. I have an old copy of the Merchants of Doubt laying around. David, have you ever read the book? You have, haven't you?
I've not read the book. You tell me about it. And wait, The Merchants of Doubt. You bet I have. I've read that. Yes, I've used that. I made my students read part of it.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It's a great piece. It's a great instructional manual in propaganda.
It is perfect. And the one thing that, most of us know that the tobacco companies lied about the fact that their product causes cancer and a whole bunch of other things to happen to your body.
Sure.
They knew about it from the 50s. And
yes.
Finally, that's why they were finally hit for billions of dollars, because they got hit on RICO. It was, what the Justice Department uses to go after the mafia. That's what got them, because they knew about it and they communicated with one another saying, yeah, we got to cover this stuff up. The same guys that did that for tobacco then went on to do the same for climate change.
Absolutely.
The same kind of denial.
And where the title comes from of this book, Merchants of Doubt, and I think there's probably a couple of documentaries around of the same name. The public relations firms, or whatever you want to call them, communications firms, they're not going to argue with the science. They're going to plant doubt. They're going to put a bunch of people out there, some of them PhDs, as there were during the cigarette days. And by the way, the cigarette manufacturers had evidence that cigarette smoking caused cancer in the early 50s. Not in the late 50s. I mean, the Surgeon General report on smoking came out in 1964. The cigarette companies had information on that way in like 1952 or something like that.
Exactly. That's exactly right.
And so their plan, and they talked about it among themselves in some of their internal communiques that they finally had to reveal, was that, they're going to catch us one of these days, but every year we can put it off. We would just make that much more money.
Precisely.
So they didn't, I think they succeeded beyond their wildest dreams. They had no idea. It wasn't until the late 80s when every single president of a tobacco company in this country got up before Congress on television and said they knew or doubted that cigarette smoking caused cancer. And by that time, Congress, of course, had proof that they knew damn well and had known for years and years and years. And that was that did it. That really did it. And we had an activist Surgeon General at the time, and attorney generals around the country forced them to reveal.
And there were two guys named Fred, who did the tobacco stuff. Fred Seitz and Fred Singer.
Yep.
But then they went on to do climate change.
Yes, they did.
Same thing. You don't want to fight against the science because it's overwhelming. So you never have your own theory of why we have more storms, why all the ice is melting, why we don't have glaciers in Glacier Park practically. All of that, you don't want to argue. You don't want to have your own theory. You just try to make a little hole on one. And that's it. Doubt. Bring about doubt.
And the two Freds, by the way, really didn't care about climate change, and they really weren't in the direct employ of oil companies. What they were really concerned about, I should take that back. They weren't. They did receive money from oil companies that didn't want to hear about greenhouse gases. They were cold warriors. They were older men. In fact, I believe they're both still alive, well into their 90s.
One of them is a 9. One of them still. I can't remember when. One of the guys died.
Yeah, well, they were interchangeable anyway. But anyway, they were concerned about government control of the economy. That was their reason to be. They were afraid of socialism and communism, and the regulation of the oil companies. That's what it looked like to them. So they weren't concerned about the truth at all. And that's
you remember a lot about this book.
Yes, I do. Well, I got it out. I had it. I know you've never been in my house, but I got a house full of books, and I pick up one every now and then, and I just thumb through it. And that's the one I grabbed the other day. And I have this. I forgot, and read a little bit about it, and it just so happened. And of course, you were going to be on today. So, by the way, as you know, David Osterberg is usually on Thursday, but I'll be gone at a funeral tomorrow. So David's on today. So
I'm sorry about that.
It's a friend of the family. But anyway, it's quite something to read, and it's more stunning sometimes when you see video of various news and talk personalities feeding questions to PhDs who sold their soul for quite a bit of money to say there's no such thing as climate change and there's no such thing as cancer coming from cigarette smoking. And,
so there is money in getting a PhD. It just isn't if you go teach at a university, there isn't. But if you go work for somebody like that, yes, there is.
And I really enjoyed this James Hansen, I believe was his name. And he was a climate researcher in the late 1980s, and he was the first one to come forward with this, and he was nearly laughed out of town by his ideas on climate change.
And you know, Jim Hansen got his PhD at the University of Iowa.
I did not know that.
He did. Yeah.
But even he said, and I went on to do a little bit more work on this, even he said, we're scientists. We don't communicate very well. We just don't communicate very well. And that's an argument, I know, ladies and gentlemen, you've heard me make over the many, many years, that there needs to be better communication between the people and government and various researchers if we're going to move forward at all. I don't mean just on climate change, but the days